AI, is it about to revolutionize entertainment or run it straight into the ground? We're going to talk about that and more on today's episode of the Geek Watch podcast.
This is the Geek Watch podcast with Brian Hatcher and Mandy Petry.
Greetings, Geek Watchers, and welcome to episode 262 of the Geek Watch podcast. I'm Brian Hatcher, and with me, as always, Geek Watch's very own resident geek goddess, Mandy Petry.
Hello, Brian.
Before we get started with the main meat of today's podcast, I did want to talk a little bit about some of the new trailers that have come out. We have seen the new Spider-Man trailer. For the new, I'm trying to remember what this one's called. I know it's got home in the title, or Brand New Day. Yeah, the new Spider-Man Brand New Day, which it looks like we are getting one of the really old storylines from Spider-Man where he becomes Man-Spider. And so
I think I can remember that from the 90s cartoon.
Yeah,
where he gets extra arms.
Yeah, six-armed Spider-Man, and it looks like he's going to be spinning natural webs, I guess.
Like Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, apparently he got real jealous about that. But there is this line that sounds like it's Keith David saying it about how a spider has 3 stages of life. And if they survive it, then they become more powerful. So that's part of it. And it does seem this version of Spider-Man is spinning natural webbing. But also, they really drive home this idea that it really sucks that his friends don't remember him anymore.
Yeah.
Because they really played that in a trailer. But also, getting to see the Punisher.
John Bernthal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's doing a standalone movie as well. But back in the day, the Punisher appeared.
Dolph Lundgren?
I would say
not quite that far back.
Actually, a little farther back because I'm talking about the comics. But the Punisher appeared in a lot of the old Spider-Man comics and made semi-regular appearances in Spider-Man. And also, there's a lot of rumors about other things that we may wind up seeing because this is supposed to be like the last big Marvel movie before we get to the Avengers film.
Okay.
And of course, they've been cutting back a lot on movies and television at this point. We have season 1 of Wonder Man that's come out, and they just this week started showing Daredevil.
Yes.
Have you watched any of that?
I haven't.
I haven't had a chance to dive into it either.
Trailers for it, and it just looks classic. It looks good.
Oh, yeah. And they're bringing back Jessica Jones, which, hurrah.
Yay.
I think that's
Love Kristen Ritter so much.
Oh, yes. It's going to be great to see what they do with that, especially when they make it a little more gritty, although, of course, with Jessica Jones, they took your hero, David Tennant, and turned him into a really horrible villain.
Yeah, before that, I had seen him play villains before, which he does very well.
Oh, yeah.
So I knew he was going to do well at it, and
Harry Potter,
did. Yes, but he also did some BBC Masterpiece Theater movies where he played some really sick characters. Yeah, he does that very well, and so I knew going in he would do very well at being a bad guy, and boy, did he.
Oh, yeah.
Kilgrave was...
That's the thing. I remember that character from the comics, and
when he was really purple.
Yes, when he was
his skin was purple.
He was and the Purple Man, and it was pretty freaking disturbing. It translated about as creepy as you can imagine it would in live action.
Yeah, and that absolute evil and innocence. Yeah, honestly, not knowing that you're doing wrong.
Yeah, definitely sociopathic for sure. I'm looking forward to the new Daredevil, certainly. And I have been keeping track of some of the new stuff that's coming out movie-wise. I am starting to see a lot more original properties because it just had South by Southwest, and I was looking over some of the stuff that they've been talking about there. And I did see a lot of like original stories, not a lot of like remakes, although a lot of the bigger studios.
It's like we just got the Harry Potter trailer, so I haven't seen any of the original stuff, so that's what I've seen.
Yeah, and also I've seen a trailer for the live action Moana, which it feels like...
I've seen pictures from that.
It leans in more to being just a live action version of the original animated piece, because everything pretty much looks like what it did from the animated movie. Even Hey Hey the Chicken. It's just a 3D version of what we saw. And I saw the animated in 3D, so it looks just like I'm wearing the glasses, pretty much. again, a lot of people have been asking, okay, so what's the point of this? And don't get me wrong, I loved Moana. It was one of my favorite.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And
As part of it, Disney had another renaissance around that time of really good movies. And okay, I've heard a lot about this, about the Harry Potter, about Moana. They're reheating nachos.
oh yeah.
They're reheating nachos. And
I just saw that they're doing another reboot of live action Scooby-Doo that they're recasting.
okay.
So that's getting a reheat. There's going to be another Lord of the Rings movie.
Is it a remake? Is it a sequel? Is it like...
I believe it's going to be a sequel, prequel, something. I'm not sure exactly.
Is it the Silmarillion? Are they giving us the Silmarillion?
Could very well be the Silmarillion. But what I found interesting was who they were getting to help write it. Stephen Colbert.
Oh, yeah. You couldn't ask for a better writer to write Tolkien. So I'm not worried about the writing at all then. We have the best of the best.
There's some interesting stuff out there. There's some things that have piqued my interest. But the main thing I wanted to talk about today, I wanted to do a subject today that we've skirted around a lot on this podcast, but I figured it was time for us to roll up our pant legs and get knee deep in the muck with this one, at least knee deep. And that's artificial intelligence, AI.
Uh-oh. Our listeners are going to get mad at me.
Possibly, because it's very difficult to talk about AI without pissing somebody off. But in my situation, I have a relatively unique situation when it comes to AI because I have a corporate style day job where they're trying to stick AI into everything. And I have been studying AI. I've been taking classes on AI because I need to know about AI. And then we have the creative side. And as a writer, if I use AI for anything...
Are you betraying?
Oh, it's not even a matter of that. If I submit an AI written story to any magazine, I'll never sell another piece of anything to anyone ever again. But where do you draw the line? I understand, don't submit a story saying, hey, you wrote it, but you had AI write it instead. But then you start looking at the lines of, okay, what about if I use AI to edit my grammar? What if I use AI to do an editing pass on a rough draft and make suggestions?
Yeah, where does the tool stop and the Xerox begin?
Yeah.
And which I'm in the same boat in the fact that I adjudicate medical records. So our AI is basically copying and pasting everything important from a medical document into a usable document. I don't see that because it's not creativity. It's basically doing copy and paste, which is what I was doing before. It's just doing it faster, and then I go through and edit it myself. So I don't see that as any hindrance on the creative process. So it'll have to be a really, really weird fine line. Yeah, because like many artists fuss about tracing. And I've talked about it on my live paintings that even the masters use tracing. They use camera obscuras.
Yeah.
They use the pin poke method. They use the grid method. So it's just a tool, but to some it's just copying. What was the movie where there was a whole thing about you're just tracing that? You're just tracing that?
Chasing Amy.
Yeah, I knew it was... Yeah,
Tracer? No, your mother's a tracer?
Yeah, I knew it was a Kevin Smith movie. You're just tracing. Yes, so that's along those lines. So where does it stop being a tool and becoming just not you anymore? So like with your writing and it correcting your grammar, spell check... I don't see it as any different than the spell check that we had before on an old word processor.
Yeah, there was definitely that aspect of AI involved in spell check. And you look at programs like Grammarly, it's now going more into the AI side of things. Now, I will tell you, there are writers out there and publishers out there and small presses that say right now that there is no ethical use for AI. That AI, just by its existence, is a bad thing. Using it for anything is a bad thing. Again, you can really get into the weeds when it comes to this because certainly for the artist side of things, for those who create art, who draw, who write, taking jobs away from artists and editors, that's definitely a bad thing. The fact that it creates AI slop that, it's like you can't even go online anymore without seeing like a ton of this AI slop that's out there.
Yes.
But it's improving exponentially. You look at some of the first generated videos with AI, the Will Smith eating spaghetti, which for some of us who've seen them, it's like they still haunt our nightmares.
Mhm.
But now it looks completely natural, and the improvements are exponential,
Mhm.
which means it's not like a steady growth. It's shooting way up. And so 5 years from now, AI is going to be 100 times, 1,000 times better than what it is now.
Mhm.
We've gotten to a place with computers now where they programmed a computer to play Go. It's an old Chinese game, like capture territory. You surround stones with your stones and basically block off areas. And it's a very simple game. It's one of those, the rules are simple to learn, but the strategy is immense. It is said that no two games of Go since the beginning have ever been the same, that there are more possible ways to play Go than there are atoms in the universe. Because of that, it was thought that you could never program a computer to play Go. And everyone talks about Move 37. Move 37 is a reference to a series of games played by the Go World Master. Lee Sedol played AlphaGo, a Chinese AI computer that was programmed to play Go. And they talk about Move 37 because it was a stone that was laid by the computer that people were like, okay, that seems to be weird. But then they started looking at it and went, oh my God, it's not a move that a human would have thought to play, but it was a brilliant move. And the Grandmaster lost. It was won one game, lost 3 or 4 games to the computer, and had to say this computer wasn't playing like wasn't playing like a machine.
Like Big Blue.
Yeah, it was playing like something that was creative, because Move 37, even though it was not a move that a human would have normally thought to play, it was sublime in its execution. It was well thought out and an extremely creative and well thought out move to play, which for the longest time, people didn't think a computer would have the ability to do that. And so now we have to look at that as a situation, because although at this point, artificial intelligence does not create art as well as the best artists in the world,
No, huh?
and doesn't write as well as the best writers in the world, it damn well does write better than most people. And
Oh, yeah.
draw. If you're
Than
not
the
that,
average person,
than
yeah.
the average person, yeah, it will.
Because it was taught, it learned from the best.
Yeah, which is another reason why they say there's no
Mhm.
possible ethical use for AI, because it was trained on the work of artists and writers that weren't asked that could be used to do that.
Right.
And so a lot of work was basically stolen, and in some cases, AI was able to create work by basically doing some cut and paste of other people's work.
Mhm.
But again, with AI growing exponentially, it's going to get to a place where it's going to be more difficult to see where it's stealing from.
Yep.
It will get more creative, and so its thievery will be easier to obfuscate. And again, there are so many rabbit holes that you can go down when you're talking about AI and ethics, whether it is the amount of power that it takes to run an AI server farm, all the places where they're wanting to put in new server farms, like here in West Virginia, they're wanting to put in a server farm.
Yep.
And a lot of people are complaining about it
Oh, yeah.
for a lot of reasons.
Mhm.
Old McDonald had a server farm, AIAIO.
Mhm.
And so you can
Water's the big thing, because
Well-
we have such a bad
Mhm.
thing with water in West Virginia. I live up a coal company hollow our water's been poisoned for years.
Yeah. And so, yeah, there's that issue about the amount of water that it uses,
Mhm.
and how, like for a power plant needing to produce more energy, of course, it uses water as a cooling agent to help generate power. And so it pulls water out of a water source, and then after it's heated, puts it back into whatever river it pulled it from. And of course, when the temperature of a lake or a river goes up by a couple degrees, you're doing some serious ecological damage. And also the idea of the amount of infrastructure that's required. If you put in a server farm, then you need to have a strong electrical infrastructure. And if you don't have it, then the power company has to build it. And then if they have to build it, then they raise the price for electricity. Mr. and Mrs. Consumer winds up footing the bill for the amount of money that they spent reinforcing the infrastructure. In the county that we live in, West Virginia, they've already had a situation where the county commission has had to put their foot down to keep the power company from raising the bills.
Yep.
Because they're already getting to a place where they're preparing for the possibility of server farms. And because of the server farms, the amount of memory and CPUs and GPUs required for these servers, for the server farms, all of that's getting more expensive. For the first time in forever, the prices of the computers are going up. And there are companies, and I've talked about this a few times. I don't know if I've ever brought this up in the podcast one time when we were talking about AI, but there was a memory company called Crucial online where you could buy additional memory sticks for your computer or your laptop to increase the memory so that it would run faster. That site closed. The company still exists, but they sell so much memory to server farms. They don't
need to sell it to John Everyman.
Yeah, they're not going to, because they'll make more money selling it to server farms. So they just shut their website down and said, we'll just sell to server farms from this point forward. I can see why people say there is no ethical use to AI. I get it. There are a lot of reasons to say that there's no way that you can honestly and ethically use AI, because AI is going to hurt someone, somewhere, somehow, and using it is contributing to that harm. But we're also getting to the place now where AI is becoming so ubiquitous that we can't get away from it.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, regardless of what you personally may think of AI, you're already using it in your job.
Yep, and this is where our listeners might get mad at me. I love chatbots, Brian. I just love using them because I can differentiate from reality, but I know that's the thing. There's there's a name for it too. Having an obsession with a fake person or a celebrity or something.
A parasocial relationship.
Yeah, parasocial, yes. And no, I don't have those. But like the other day, I was at a car dealership getting a recall fixed on my vehicle.
Yeah.
And the salesman came out and tried to sell me a new car. And I have a really hard time saying no to people. And I had to say no and turn this car salesman down. And I was dang near having a panic attack because of it, Brian. And ChatGTP talked me down.
Yeah.
I said, can you help me? And it took me through a breathing exercise and just reminded me that I didn't do anything wrong. I set a boundary. And it was, I am absolutely for chatbots.
Yeah. When it works well, it can be very helpful. Now, at the same time, ChatGPT talked somebody into killing themselves.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that's also a thing. But when it comes to things like AI, we're seeing all these red flags all over the place. People getting upset, like people upset at Doctor Who, where there's a lot on the Doctor Who website where they were posting Doctor Who AI generated content.
Yep.
And so that upset people. Wizards of the Coast, Dungeons and Dragons. There are a bunch of complaints, and for today, let's not go down that rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
But there's been talk about creating AI dungeon masters. People gotten real upset about that. And they announced recently that they are creating a chatbot that will have the rules for Dungeons and Dragons 5.5e so that you can go, oh, I don't know how this rule works. You can ask them a question.
Mm-hmm.
People are like, you're using AI. And they're going, no, this is not AI. This is just a chatbot. No, this is AI.
It is AI, yeah.
But they can't call it AI because they know they'll get in trouble for it. But that's exactly what they're doing.
Even if you were to Google that question, Google is going to use AI to find the answer.
Yeah, the first result now in Google for anything is an AI-generated response.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of what you think of AI, you wind up using it every day, even when you don't intend to.
Yes, margarita burn is a real thing.
Yeah.
That's what the AI generated when I typed that into Google. It said, yes, margarita burn is real.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Getting to the place now where you have a company who has an AI generated actress that they're trying to get her hired for movies. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Why would you ever do that? But then you have an AI generated movie being put out by a famous Hollywood director. Darren Aronofsky is doing an AI generated movie on the American founding fathers. And so the question becomes, where do you draw the line? When is it ethical? When does it cross the line and it stops being ethical? Or is it always unethical? Is it not something that will ever be ethical? When does it come to a place where you use AI at your job and then eventually AI is doing your job and it doesn't need you anymore? Because that's something else that we're dealing with at work, is this idea that when you're young, if you're a lawyer, once you're out of law school and you get your license, you don't immediately go into doing cases. You do paperwork, you do filing, you do paralegal stuff, because that is where you do your apprenticeship. This is where you get your chops before you start going out and actually defending cases or prosecuting cases on your own. And AI is going to take away all the apprenticeship jobs from all kinds of different types of work. And without that pipeline for young people to get their feet wet, where does the new talent come from? Where do you get the people who are going to be replacing all us old farts that are getting ready to retire? That's starting to go away. Then again, that's what technology does. Technology changes the work environment. It changes the way finances work. It changes the way that society looks at certain things. You look at the beginning of the 20th century, the biggest commodity product in the world was whale oil. Whale oil. And it didn't take very long for technology to go, yeah, we don't need to hunt whales anymore. Mm-hmm. But whale oil was the thing, man. It was like, if you wanted to be a millionaire, whale oil, y'all. Whale oil was it, man. That was where the money was. And now it isn't anymore. It hasn't been for many decades. Long before I was born, whale oil stopped being a thing. But then again, even during World War II, there were a lot of houses that didn't have electricity. And so technology happens when technology hits, and especially something that is as much of a disruptor as artificial intelligence. It's going to change a lot of stuff. It's already changing a bunch of things. And again, I'm not going to go down the political side of things, but you can pick up you can pick up a newspaper, but can you? It depends on where you live. But wherever you get your news, you can see that AI is very political, to the degree that I would say that if somebody told me what they thought of AI, I feel like I could pretty accurately determine what their political party was and where their political leanings were, just from hearing what they thought of AI. And I can't even begin to tell you, being on Facebook and seeing writer boards and people talking about AI. And I made a comment on one of these message boards when they're talking about AI. And I said, AI shouldn't be writing stories. But I see a day very soon that publishers are going to use AI to go through slush piles, because the vast majority of the stuff that comes in is obviously not going to get published. And as somebody who's edited collections, I can tell you this is the fact, because I've gone through slush piles, and you will get, if it's like a themed anthology, you will get stuff that's not even part of the thing.
Yeah.
It's somebody's pulled out what they call a trunk story. It's like they wrote a story, couldn't
novels,
sell it. Yeah. So they couldn't sell it. They stuck it in a trunk. It's, hey, somebody's buying stories. I'm just going to send it in. And yeah, it would be very easy to train an AI to go through slush piles and just skim off the stuff that there's no even real reason to read it, because it's just not there. And even to a degree of quality of the story, you would be able to wean a bunch of stuff off. And I said, I see that as something that's going to become a reality very soon. I had small press publishers lose their crap on me. They freaked out and said that was the worst idea ever. And I should be ashamed of myself for even suggesting that should be done. And here's the thing, first of all, number one, I didn't say it should be done. I said it would be done. I'm saying it's going to happen. Yeah. I'm not making a moral judgment that it should be done. I'm just saying it's going to happen. And it's happening. But again, now we run into the problem of your readers at these publishing houses. It used to be their jobs to go through all these slush piles. And by reading a lot of crappy stuff, they learn what makes a good story.
Right. Yeah.
Now that's going away. But it is becoming more and more ubiquitous, and jobs are starting to go away. And a lot of data entry stuff is going to be gone pretty soon. But with how much Hollywood is about getting content, and because now people are leaning more into the social media side of things, and content is king, and what they'll tell you. And there's an author right now, we'll call her an author. AI writes her books. And in an interview, she said, look, if it takes you 6 months to write a book and it takes me 2 hours to get a book together, who wins? So that's what you want to do. I suppose you could conceivably win. But at the same time, as a writer, I don't want AI to write the story for me. I want to write it. I want this to be my thing, because the thing is, if AI can write a story, what does it need me to do? Put my name on it? It doesn't need my name on it. And of course, this author, she said in the interview that she publishes so many books that she uses a ton of pseudonyms. And part of that also is because since people know what her real name is, they're like, I'm not going to buy your book. You just had an AI write it. So she's putting out all these books under pseudonyms, but she's making all the money from it. So she's making like a ton of money. But at the same time, where does the art come in? And studios at this point, they're about the content. Again, they've fallen into the social media side of things. And social media right now, AI slop is king. And so getting...
vertical dramas.
Yeah, vertical dramas. And get as much content out there as you can. And yeah, AI will make that a heck of a lot faster. What it won't do is put you in there. It won't be about you. You're just some other person who's flipping a switch. And anyone can do that. And eventually we will get to a place where if movies are written by AI, and there has been a lot of talk that there have been movies out there already that the scripts had to have been AI. And we get to a place where things start to just kind of look the same. That's where in the world is the joy in that. Now, again, AI is becoming better and better exponentially. And yeah, probably sometime soon, AI will be able to write a story as good as pretty much anybody, at least to a level where it'll be a movie that people will be willing to sit and watch, even though because of social media. And this was something that I saw an interview with Matt Damon, and he was talking about how action movies, the pacing has to be different because producers are like, look, you don't understand. People aren't going to theaters to watch movies. They're watching them at home, which means that you have to keep their attention because the dog is barking in the background. The kids are playing in the background. The phone rings, or Facebook is right there in the palm of their hand. So you have to be able to keep their attention, and you're not always going to be able to do that. So keep in mind, if you explain something, make sure that you explain it again in about 15 minutes in case they missed it because they were on their phone surfing Facebook, which, yeah, you have to do that if that's the situation that you're in. But if we get to a place where AI is generating everything and is pulling for your attention, and content is king, and spit out as much content as possible, and you have to use AI to do that, where is the human element in that? Where will the artist go? Will we be able to be creative? Will we be creating original stories? Or are we just going to be sitting in our couch eating slop? Well, I guess we'll see.
We shall see.
And with that said, we come to the end of episode 262. Thank you for listening, and tune in next time for the latest in geek news and views with the Geek Watch podcast. From Mandy Petry, this is Brian Hatcher, reminding all the Geek Watchers out there, we're all geeky about something. Be proud of yours. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Geek Watch podcast. If you enjoyed this program, don't forget to like and subscribe on your preferred platform and share this podcast on your social media. For links to all the ways you can listen to the Geek Watch podcast, as well as leave comments and suggestions, visit our website at geekwatch.net. The Geek Watch podcast is a Hanging J production.